Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Shah, double line, see positive GMS. This is I'm Allah coming at you in the video. Real fast before I start the video, I can't pause. I can't pause the recording. So and I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I may be coughing a lot. And I can't pause the video, so yeah, you may be hearing that throughout the video. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me wheezing. But anyway, let's get right to it. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 16. Hast thou found honey? Now, reading that, people would say, hold on, what is honey? What's the significance of that? Right? Real fast. This is the book of Psalms 19:10, because when it says honey, to a person who doesn't understand how the scriptures, they're thinking it's talking about actual physical honey that you eat. No, it's a spiritual aspect to that. It's talking about spiritual honey. Psalms 19:10. More to be I'll start from 9. Psalms 19:9. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The fear of Yahweh Bashim Shah is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh Bashim Shah are true and righteous altogether. So it's talking about the fear of the Lord, which pursuing the Proverbs 1:7, the fear of the Lord is what? The beginning of knowledge. So when it says the fear of the Lord, it's talking about the knowledge of the Lord. Okay, his word. So the word of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. Psalms 19:10. More to be desired are they than gold. Yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. So the word of the Most High, Yahweh Shah, is sweet, is savory, more so than honey and the honeycomb, which honey is known for being sweet. So we know that it's talking about the word of Yahweh Bashim Shah. Okay? Got another scripture. Proverbs 16:24. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. So we know it's talking about the word of the Lord. So let's go back. Proverbs 25:16. Has thou found honey? It's talking about the word. Eat so much as is sufficient for thee. Sufficient. Sufficient means having an amount that is enough to meet a need, purpose, or requirement. Excuse me. So sufficient means having an amount that is enough to meet a need, purpose, or requirement. So eat so much that fulfills your need, your purpose, its requirement, your requirement. Lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. Now, what does that mean? Let me say I'm kind of confused. If it's talking about something spiritual, why it's talking about vomiting? Because yes, it's talking about spiritual honey. When you get the word, taking as much as the word that is sufficient unto thee. The word is likened unto honey because honey is sweet. And things that are sweet to the taste are things that people desire. People desire things that are sweet. As one should desire the word of the Lord, whose word is sweet, so you should desire it. But when you taking in the word of the Lord, when you studying, when you hearing his word, taking as much as sufficient for you, as much as you need, as much as required, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. Now, how can we understand that? Scroll down. Now, I just went on Google, type in too much honey, right, will make you vomit, which we already knew this. It says, yes, consuming too much honey can cause you to throw up, along with other digestive issues. While generally safe, excessive consumption can cause nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps, diarrhea, and bloating, particularly due to its high fructose content, which can be hard to digest. High fructose intake. Honey is high in fructose, which can cause gastrointestinal distress, including vomiting and diarrhea, when consumed in large amounts. Allergic reaction. If you are allergic to bee pollen, eating honey will cause symptoms like nausea, vomiting, wheezing, and dizziness. I'm wheezing, but I haven't had any physical honey. The spiritual honey, yeah. I can keep reading, but that's the point on that. So we know that having large amounts of honey can cause you to vomit. It can also do this. I typed in too much honey laxative. Consuming too much honey can act as a laxative, leading to diarrhea, stomach cramps, and bloating due to its high fructose content, which can cause incomplete absorption in the gut. While useful as a mild, natural remedy for constipation, excessive intake, typically 50 to 100 grams or more, overwhelms the digestive system. Okay, so I could read a little more, but that's the point on that. So ultimately, what is the scripture saying? It says, "Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited." If a person eats too much physical honey, it can cause you to vomit. It can cause nausea. It can cause dizziness. It can cause diarrhea because it can act as a laxative. So it has its drawbacks. It has its drawbacks. It's sweet to the taste, but if you have too much, then it's uh um it's a consequence to that. Okay, so if a person hears the word of the Lord, you're taking as much as sufficient for you, because if you're taking too much, then what happens? You can become overwhelmed. Why? Because you got people that come into the knowledge that's babes. They don't really have a deep understanding of the word. So if they try to take in too much knowledge, try to take in uh, um, too much deep, dark sayings, meaning words, meaning scriptures in the Bible that's hard to understand, it can become difficult for them. Let's get a scripture. Sirach chapter 3, verse 21. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. See? Don't search out things that's above your strength. Don't search out things that are too hard for you. Because a person could become disenchanted and they could lose faith. It's like a person, think of it like this. Think of it like a person who wants to work out, but it's their first time really working out. And they go to the gym the first day, they're working out, lifting a real heavy weight. They feel like, yeah, I could do it. And guess what happened? They wound up messing up their bicep. They even have a term for working out called ego lifting. It's like when a person lifts a heavy weight because to satisfy their ego. Man, I'm going to bench press 250 pounds, knowing that you can only do 205. And you try to bench press that 250 pounds, and guess what? You get the ball off the rack, and then what happens? It falls on your neck. So you're doing something that's too difficult for you. It can harm you. So for people that's coming into this faith, that's reading the scriptures, wanting to understand, you got to get the basics first. You just can't jump into more complicated things, and you can become confused. You know what I'm saying? It's like math. You start off with addition, subtraction, then eventually you get to multiplication and division. Then you get to algebra, calculus. You understand it gets more and more advanced. You got to understand the basics first before you get to the more advanced parts. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand that. There's nothing wrong with you know what this scripture mean, know what that scripture mean, but it's a bunch of stuff in the scripture that you're supposed to know what it means. Do you understand the book of Romans? You could break down this and break down that and this scripture, that scripture, but you got to know the basics. That's important. So you're not supposed to seek things that's too hard for you, man. Stick with just the basics. All right, this is Proverbs 14:6. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that unto him that understandeth. Now, what's a scorner? To scorn, make mouths at, talk arrogantly, to boast, to scorn, mock, deride, interpret. So a scoffer is somebody who talks trash. That's a scorn. That's a scorner. Okay, hold on. So a scorner seeketh wisdom, but guess what? They're not seeking the wisdom and sincerity of heart because they're a scorner. They're a trash talker. That's why people that go out there and make these videos and call themselves trying to debate us and debunk what we're saying, they end up putting their foot in their own mouth because they're not seeking the wisdom to get closer to Yahweh Shema Shah. They're seeking knowledge in an attempt to try to refute what it is that we're saying. So they really aren't sincere in the search in the studying that they're doing. It's like a person just wants to know something just to say I know more than you, you know, and they really don't know anything. So a scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. Knowledge is easy to somebody to understand it, because the Most High is going to open up your mind for you to understand the scripture. Most High going to open your mind for you to gain knowledge. Okay, the Most High is working with you. Okay, go from the presence of a foolish man without perceiving not in him the lips of knowledge. When you see a person is a fool, go from their presence. Like when you when you perceive a person to have knowledge, just separate yourself from them. And that's in various situations. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. So the wisdom of fools is to understand his way, because it's the Lord that directeth our steps, and we understand how to move according to the scriptures. We understand how to walk, how to live our lives because of the scriptures. But the folly of fools is deceit. That's the folly of a fool, deceit, deception. They seek to deceive, and they deceive their own selves, believing themselves to be greater than what they really are. Hebrews 5:12. From the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of the Most High, and now become as such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. So when you ought to be a teacher, you need somebody to teach you again, because you have need of milk and not strong meat. What's milk? For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. So milk represents somebody that's not skillful. They aren't really advanced. They aren't that mature in the spirit. Like a baby drinks milk because they don't have the teeth to chew. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even meaning more mature in the spirit. Even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. And to have your senses exercised means to have experience, to discern or to distinguish between both good and evil. You have experience. Why? Because you've been in various situations. And being in various situations, you know how to maneuver. You know how to apply the scriptures. So you know how to discern both good and evil. I've been in that situation before. I've been in that situation before. Because you have experience. So the unskillful part is like color scriptures and salvation scriptures, like the basics. Those are the basics. But strong meat is somebody for aid. That's the breakdowns, like Romans the 11th chapter, the Gentiles, the Book of Revelation, Daniel the 2nd chapter, Daniel the 7th chapter. Those are Ezekiel the 37th chapter. That's meat. Okay, deeper breakdowns. Something that's harder to what chew. That you need teeth to chew. You need to be more mature. Okay. So bros should stick with what they know. Okay. And then in time you'll learn more. 1 Corinthians 3:1. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as babes in Yahweh Shai. So the Apostle Paul saying, I can only speak unto y'all carnal, I couldn't speak to y'all spiritual things. Why? Because they babes. I have fed you with milk. I gave you the basics, not with meat. For hitherto you were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. I gave y'all milk, not meat. I gave y'all the basics, not the deeper understanding of the scripture, just the basics. For hitherto you were not able to bear it. You weren't able to bear the more difficult breakdowns, the more advanced understanding. Neither yet now are you able. You're still not able. Why? Because you have need the one teach you again. That goes back to Hebrews the 5th chapter. We just read that. Okay? All right? Matthew 13 and 10. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them is not given. But to them is not given. So when Yahweh Shah was with the disciples and you had the multitude that was among them, Yahweh Shah spoke to the multitude in parables, like stories. He didn't break it down to them clearly. He said, well, let's say this guy does this. He's breaking it down like in a story kind of way, an allegory, as opposed to coming straight out and telling them. It's like, when like let's say a group of people are in each other's presence and you have like an inside joke. You say it you may say it a certain way. That's not even that example. Let's say like it's a group of people hanging around each other. They all friends. You'll say something, But you won't be too clear with what's being said because you don't want people that's not in your circle to understand it. So you'll say it in a certain way so that the people around you will know what you mean. Okay? You'll say something publicly because you don't want everybody to really understand what's meant. And then when they aren't around, you'll say it clearly to your friends. That's a better way of explaining it. A group of people all around you say something, but you say it in a way that everybody that's around can't understand. And then you be like, you'll get it later. And when you pull your friends to the side, they say, "What you mean by someone so and so?" This is what I mean. Boom, boom, boom. So why you said it like that when you was around them? Because they ain't got it. It ain't meant for them. It's meant for you to get it. So you say something publicly around people so that everybody else can't understand it, and then you pull your friends to the side, and then you explain to them what you meant. Okay, so it's given unto them, so the mystery of the kingdom of heaven. But to them, it wasn't given. It wasn't given to everybody. Everybody ain't meant to get this. That's something a lot of people can't receive. Last scripture, Acts 19:13. And this then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them to call over them that had evil spirits, which had evil spirits, the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah, saying, "We adjure you by Yahweh Shah, whom Paul preaches." Look at the word adjure.
Strong's G 3726, Harkizo.
Harkizo. To force to take an oath, to administer an oath to adjure, to solemnly implore. So to force to take an oath. In other words, he was compelling the evil spirits to come out of these people. Because it said it took upon them took upon them. Then certainly the vagabond Jews, exorcists, took upon them their own selves, not to the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah, their own selves, to call over them that had evil spirits. The name of the Lord Yahweh Shah, saying, "We adjure you by Yahweh Shah," and Paul preacheth. So we compel you to get out of these people by the name of Yahweh Shah that Paul preaches, because Paul is preaching by Yahweh Shah. And there were 7 sons, one of Sceva, a Jew, and chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, "Yahweh Shah I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye?" And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them and prevailed against them, and so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. So they got beat up. The vagabond Jews got beat up. So that evil spirit that was in that man said, "Yahweh Shah I know, Paul I know, but who are you?" And guess what? They got beat down. Because why? They sought out something that was too hard for them. They had honey. They knew the name of the Lord, but they didn't take it that was sufficient for them. In other words, they was greater than what they really were. If a person is a novice and they get a little knowledge, you give a novice a little knowledge, you start thinking they're greater than what they really are. And it's a spirit, because I was just thinking about this. It's like you teach somebody something, and then they start thinking they could beat you at it. Like you taught somebody how to play chess, taught somebody how to play basketball, taught somebody how to box. You taught somebody how to draw or whatever. And then now they want to compete with you in front of everybody. You on a basketball court one day and they roll up with their friends. They'll play one-on-one. So now they want to play you one-on-one in front of everybody. Not forgetting that you the one that taught them the game. You know what I'm saying? Give them a little something. They start thinking they a big shot, so to speak. They start thinking they all that. That's what happens when you don't eat the honey that's sufficient for you. It can boost your ego up, fill you up in pride. Okay? Because when you on a lower level, don't got to understand the Lord, you don't really understand that what? You're not really understanding the way you should, that all the knowledge comes from the Lord, man. And you'd be built up in pride like you did on your own. So you stick with the basics first. That way you don't go to your head, man. Yeah, I know this and I know that. You know? Gotta stick with the basics and then, mature through the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shah. And then you get the deeper understanding. So with that, I'm going to close. I'm still praise Yahweh Shema Shah. Double honesty, Pastor GMS. I hope you learn something. Shalom.